The top 5.
We get hit over the head with chairs and tables and everything.
Sting wrestling cards.
The man of the hour.
What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards, and we've got another top 5 video for you today. I had a lot of great feedback about the very first episode, which was about Steve Austin cards. You can go check that out in the archives, and I've created a playlist for these top 5 videos, so you can start with one and just watch them all after I get enough of them put out. But today we are talking about the man called Sting. Sting has a ton of awesome cards over the years, but we're going to pick out 5 that are my personal favorite and talk a little bit about them today. So before we do that, I just want to mention that, like I said, Sting has a ton of cards over the years, and I think that a lot of them kind of blend together. A lot of cool images of Surfer Sting or Crow Sting, or I guess some people like Tomato Face Sting, but a lot of these cards just kind of blended together to me, so it, was hard for me to pick 5. I've found, several that I liked right off the bat. But then when I started looking at them, like, yeah, I like the image, but there's no parallels, there's no rarity, it's just a base card. And that's okay, it doesn't have to be a rare, scarce card. But for the top 5, generally, that has to fit into my kind of criteria a little bit. There was a lot of Sting moment cards or, match cards, a lot of the cards that people like to make fun of in the NXT sets or the flagship WWE sets that Topps used to do, where it was like, this person defeats this person. I feel like there was a lot of Sting cards like that out there, and of course you had stuff like the Impel or the 88 Wonderama, and those are cool cards as well. We'll see if they make the top 5, but of course, I've got to start off with some honorable mentions. 2 cards with the same image from the same year? That's so Topps. The 2019 Undisputed and 2019 Transcendent, I'm pretty sure use the exact same photo for both of their cards. Both of these cards are great, and they have their own distinction between the two, despite them using the exact same image. Let's start with the 2019 Transcendent, which is card number A/ST. Most people know how much I love Topps Transcendent, pretty much regardless of who's on the card. And this one doesn't disappoint either. Sleek design, I love the kind of smoky, cloudy background around the image of Sting. And of course, on these Transcendent autos, the autograph spot is usually always a great looking autograph. And then you have 2019 Undisputed, card number 89, which uses the exact same image, again. But the design is drastically different. I love the yellow hints. It's a darker kind of background, black and gray, and like I said, the yellow that's in there. And then we have, also in the honorable mention, 2 artistic style cards from 2 well-known wrestling personalities. Let's start with the 2019 Undisputed Rob Schamberger portrait card. I believe it's RS9. You got an intimidating face on the Stinger here. Love the color scheme, the darker, and I love those hints of gold or yellow or kind of whatever you want to refer to that as. The second card I want to mention in the artistic category is the 2013 TNA TriStar Impact Live card number 101 caricature card, created by none other than Sam Shaw. Sam Shaw, who's that? Well, you may know him as this. While I don't like a lot of the Sting cards in the TriStar releases, I absolutely love this one. I love that short stint he did of Joker Sting.
To the challenge of immortal in the eye.
And I think this card really is one of those things that ties together an interesting character and an interesting moment in time for that character being Sting, tied together with another interesting character, that being the wrestler and the artist of this caricature card. And both of these cards tie together really well the painting style of a wrestler whose identity was almost solidly based around paint, with his face paint. Most people, when they think of Sting, like, oh, the guy with the face paint.
Of all those little stingers out there with the paint and the haircut, yeah!
And how could I not mention Sting's appearance, card number 10 in the 2019 GCW Joey Janela Spring Break 3 Part 2 set. Who doesn't love pizza? It's one of my favorite things.
Goldberg gets a chair. This could get ugly. They're gonna eat pizza.
Little Caesars WCW meal. Get a free WCW motion card when you order 2 medium pizzas for just $9.99. Collect all 4.
Pizza.
I'll trade you these 3 for a Goldberg. Nope.
I do remember seeing this WCW commercial kind of floating around during this time, but for some reason I never actually got the cards in the store. I don't know why. It wasn't until years later when I finally got some in hand out of a bulk collection. So for this one, you've got my love of pizza and the 90s nostalgia of Little Caesar. The lenticular effect on this card, when you move it, Sting kind of moves, and that's something I always loved with these Sportflix sports cards back in the day. Which again, that's even more nostalgia added. The design of the card and the look of Sting in this is the perfect late 90s A little bit past, it's still considered Attitude Era, I believe, but it's a little bit past that 97, 98 boom. But all that being said, as much as I love this card, it's not my favorite Crow Sting card. We may get into that later in this video. Card number 4, 2020 Topps Transcendent Sting Bat Relic Autograph Card. As I stated already in this video, I love Topps Transcendent. No matter who's on the card, no matter what year it was produced, I just love it all. But this one's very special. It does signify a moment in time for Sting that was huge. His only WrestleMania appearance, WrestleMania 31. After rumors and speculations of Sting coming to WWE all through the 90s and into the 2000s, Sting had finally arrived in the WWE. And during his big match with Triple H, we got even more nostalgia. The fantasy-booked battle we all wanted to see in the late 90s, DX versus NWO. And while it was a little bit of a novelty and story more than the actual action, it was a lot of fun. And in my opinion, that's what I love the most about wrestling is characters, action, storytelling, combining all that together. But storytelling being my favorite part of wrestling. So this card represents all of that, but let's take it one step further. This card has a piece of Bat Relic in it, and on the card it does say event used. This card does have a Bat Relic in it. You can see it clear as day, that piece of wood on there. And there are different colors, which kind of adds some more intrigue to it. But also on the card it does say event worn gear on it. So this is the big question for me, since it does state on there that it was used at an event. Does that in fact mean that it's a piece of the bat used in this match? Because it's event used, could it have been used at any other WWE match prior to that? Could WWE bought a bunch of indie gimmicks, or maybe bought some stuff from WCW and this was event used at that location? Could this bat have been used by one of the ring crew in a pickup game of baseball in the arena before they were setting up the ring? I'm not sure we'll ever know, and that's something you need to be careful about when you're trying to buy event used ring relics, whether it's the ring mat, whether it's a shirt or a patch or a table, or in this case the bat. And even venturing into sports cards, it's the same kind of thing. You need to be very careful if you're truly wanting this as a piece of memento from that event. You need to be careful about reading the fine print and whether it's player worn, not associated with anything, event worn, or if it actually says, hey, this was used at this event on this date. So just be careful when you're looking at that. But regardless, this is a fantastic card. Again, I love Transcend. I love everything about this card. But for the clarification of the Bat Relic, that's the only reason I couldn't rank it any higher than number 4. Card number 3, 1999 Topps WCW on-card autograph. Card number 34. The ultimate Sting autograph card, in my opinion. I've talked many times about the WCW autograph set, and I've done a whole video with Paul and Anand comparing the WCW on-card autograph set versus the 82-83 All-Stars, and just some interesting numbers we found. You can actually go back in the archives of this channel and check that out there. I think I also have the audio-only version on my podcast available on all podcast platforms. Just search Wrestling with Cards. But in my opinion, this 1998-99 WCW autograph set has become one of the top sets behind the All-Stars. In fact, I would probably say it's number 2. And this is by far my favorite Crow Sting card. I feel like it's the perfect image to take you back to his feud with the NWO and when he was hanging out in the rafters, and when he came back to Starrcade to face Hogan and he wasn't very tan. And all the rest of the shenanigans that went on with that long-term, year-long storytelling that we had with Sting and the NWO. So you got a sleek design on this card. It's very basic, but sometimes less is more with design. And this card is sought after by many types of collectors out there. You've got player collectors, super collectors. You've got the collectors trying to put together this set of all of these WCW autos. Then you have just kind of the people who want cool, rare, and scarce cards. So this card appeals to a huge amount of collectors, which is just another thing it's got going for it. For me, there really isn't one bad thing to say about this card. Card number 2, 2016 Triple Auto, Sting, Ric Flair, J.J. Dillon. Of course, it's a triple auto. It's a cool card. Most multi-auto cards are awesome. We know that. So what makes this card special? Especially with the fact that it has sticker autos, which I've personally grown to hate sticker autos. The longer I'm in the hobby, the more I just want those on card, whether it's in person or out of the factory sealed packs. But sticker autos are slowly kind of weeding out of my collection a little bit. But sometimes on cards like this one, you just can't get around it. And sometimes I just have to put that hatred I have for sticker autos aside and look at how cool a card is. But this is why this card is so personally important to me. This card represents one of my first professional wrestling memories that I could think back to, 1988 Clash of the Champions. This is a very famous match with a young Sting taking the Ric Flair to the 1 hour time limit. I would highly recommend everybody go back and watch this whole event, but this card sends me right back to my childhood bedroom, watching these two larger-than-life characters battle it out on my VCR through a little small TV in my room. I often talk about how a lot of times cards can have that connection with the person who's buying it, the collector. Whether it's nostalgia, whether it's the moment in time. Different cards can represent different things for different people. But this card does exactly that for me in representing one of the earliest moments I can remember in wrestling. And I don't care that it's not the most sought after or the most valuable, the most rare. It's the moment in time that it represents. Card number 1, and if you can't guess this, actually, maybe you can't, but maybe you can. 1991 Impel or Stomp Collection Sting hologram card. This card, in my opinion, is the best representation of the man called Sting on cardboard. You've got the picture of Surfer Sting with the big gold belt, and in my opinion, Surfer Sting is one of the most recognizable versions of Sting for casual wrestling fans. Especially for the era that this was, and the whole 90s. I mean, I know he had Crow Sting towards the end of the 90s, but most of the time when people think Sting, they think of that late 80s through the mid 90s Surfer style Sting.
Otherwise known as the coma and the morgue. You got your choice.
And if there was ever a design that this card represents, totally 90s. The hologram. Everything in the 90s had holograms. Also, you have the continued, I'll call it storylines and lore about this card and its availability. Was this card available in packs? Was it a case hit? Was this card only given to dealers and local card shops as some sort of incentive? Were there autographed versions in packs? I've heard all of these and more, but I still have not personally seen on video or talked to a person that can put all of the facts out there 100% behind this card. But I guess at the end of the day, none of that actually matters because this card is gift wrapped in nostalgia, the perfect Sting card. Thanks to everybody for watching the video today. What are your favorite Sting cards? I'd love to hear about them. Leave a comment below with your top 5 Sting cards, or maybe just 1 or 2 of your favorites. Also, I'd love to see them. Post them on social media. Tag me in it. I'd love to get the discussion going around Sting cards. Why not? I always love seeing everyone's collections, especially if it's not the same old stuff that we see all the time. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and spread the word about this channel, about any wrestling card content that's being put out, and wrestling cards in general. And before you get out of here, make sure to check out all the links below in the show notes. As I mentioned, you can find ways that you can help show your support for all the content that I'm putting out. We're talking Patreon, eBay store, links to my social medias. You can buy me a coffee if you want. I am drinking some coffee today to get through this video, and I appreciate you taking your time to watch this video and any other content I've ever put out. Until next time, when that next video drops on this channel, click the videos on the screen wherever they are for more great wrestling card content. I'll see you there.